share a part of this book that kind of helps explain how part of generational trauma comes from adults who have their own children still being like overly enmeshed with or not like healthily separated from their own parents. Part of like natural development is that children slowly over the course of their childhood and of course into early adulthood separate from their parents and form more and more of their own independent identity. I'm going to read part of this. Boys who do not break the bond with their mothers become men who are terrified of commitment. I acted out my mother bonding by going to seminary to become a celibate priest. This was a way for me to stay connected to my mother. I married Holy Mother Church and was reenacting my family of origin role. My celibacy was a kind of sexual anorexia. My father's abandonment set me up to care for my mother's pain and loneliness. Being a priest was a family-authorized, honorable, actually heroic way to stay faithful to my mom and not risk the engulfment with another woman. My later patterns with women were dysfunctional reenactments of this failure to separate from my mother. Mother-bonded men, having failed as children to receive object constancy, tend to act out all-or-nothing patterns. At the beginning of the relationship, they'll see a woman as the goddess incarnate, and then, after going with her for a while and experiencing her normal human faults, they'll see her as the whore of Babylon. They shower her with accolades at first, then rivet her with raging curses. Only once her humanness begins to show, when she fails to meet their needs in a fairy godmother-like way, or has her own needs, she is no longer the quote-unquote good mother. Her humanness touches the man's infantile need for a mother who never fails. Now she becomes the quote-unquote bad mother, and she will receive his primitive rage that the little child could not express to his real mother. I did this in my marriage. My ex-wife used to say, "It does not matter what I do, you will be angry anyway." And this was often the truth. Women who are not allowed to separate from their mothers often become the victims of abusive men. They cling to physically, sexually, or emotionally abusive relationships out of the terror of separation and of abandonment. Such women often carry deep depression because their mother repeatedly rejected them for attempting their normal development separation. Part of their defenses that they will create against this depression may involve oppositional identities, one of which is a weak and helpless person, and the other of which is assertive and ravished by guilt for being so. Men can have this polarity also. Fathers set their children up for mother bonding by physically or emotionally abandoning their wives. It doesn't exactly spell it out there, but essentially, if we look at one generation of a family and the parents in that household are still overly fixated on their own mothers, then they won't be meeting the needs of their spouse fully within their current marriage. And so then who will fill that gap of meeting mom and dad's needs? The children will. So then the children will become emotionally enmeshed with mom or dad, won't fully separate, because if dad isn't meeting mom's needs, the kid will try to meet mom's needs. But then the kid gets in that pattern of fixating on meeting his mother's needs. So once he's a husband and an adult, he will still be overly fixated on his mother. And then his children will get stuck trying to meet the needs of their mother because of the father's failure to focus on his wife. Of course, I don't know about anybody else, but when I was reading this, there are definitely different people that I know personally who come to mind where it's I can tell that they still, their primary priority in life is still their own parents, who might be 50, 60 plus years old, and here they are with a wife, with children, maybe even with grown children, and they still are more fixated on trying to take care of their parents than they are taking care of their spouse or taking care of their children.